So hello guys, and welcome to another video, and I am absolutely enjoying the Paper Mario Thousand Year Door remake, since Thousand Year Door is already my favorite game of all time, but this remake is even better, in my opinion. They are doing so much to improve this, like in terms of the graphics, the music, like so many little changes as well, like even in like the overworld and battles and things. But I've noticed a few very interesting changes that I haven't seen brought up too much, since these are kind of obscure, and some of them are kind of interesting. I mean, yeah, other people have brought some of these up before, but these aren't ones that are like highlighted in like the trailers or highlighted in like a lot of people like talking about the changes in the remake, like certain things like the new NPCs, the Battle Master tutorial thing, the new bosses, things like that are more like standout features. And also like nostalgic tunes and stuff like that. But these are more like obscure and interesting changes that I've noticed. As someone who's played through the original game multiple times, I've kind of noticed these like as I was playing. A couple of these I haven't actually run into, but I have heard people talk about them online, and they are kind of related to things that I'm talking about, so I will bring them up here. But most of these, like the majority of these, are things that I've come across in my playthrough so far. But yeah, so the first one is Anti-Guys, or Black Shy Guys, fixing the spray nozzles now. And if you don't know what they are already, Anti-Guys are like really strong Shy Guys that appear in Paper Mario 64. And there's also like a variation of them that appear in Color Splash and Origami King, but they're just called Black Shy Guys there, since I guess they're not allowed to have cool names anymore. But the Anti-Guys now are kind of involved with the stage hazards, which is really cool, and you might have spotted them before. They do appear like really quickly, like once the spray nozzle kind of like sprays the player or the enemy, you'll kind of notice them there. And one person told me that they can also drag your partner off stage, but I can't confirm this. It may be like another thing that they can do, but I'm not sure about that. But all I know is that they're involved with like fixing the stage hazards, kind of like a parallel to how the regular Shy Guys kind of drop things on you. So I think it's cool that they incorporated the Anti-Guys there. And next is some changes to the Pit 100 trials, since I played through it recently and noticed some new things. But one thing that I haven't encountered, that I have heard some people talk about, you can verify with me in the comments if this is true or not, but apparently you can retry levels in the pit. I'm a bit mixed if this is the case, because I think the point of going through the Pit 100 trials is kind of like an endurance test, and not like retrying things. When I played through it yesterday, I did it all in one go, which I feel like is how you should do the pit. But, like, honestly, if this is the case, I feel like there should have been, like, an option to turn it on or turn it off, like, for new players who want it. Or at least, like, a medal or, like, a trophy or something if you completed the Pit of 100 trials without doing that. But I guess it's not too big of a deal, just, like, don't use it if you don't like this feature. But yeah. And another thing is that each enemy gives you a coin reward, and it depends on the enemy, like with the level that they are compared to you. Like some will give you like 5 coins, some will give you 10, some will give you 20. I think I've even encountered some that gave you like 50 or 100. I'm not sure, but like there's like different like amounts of coins that you'll get from enemies in the pit. And your coins will add up pretty quickly. You'll definitely get over 1,000 coins from being in the pit. And I'm gonna also say mild spoilers ahead for the rest of the video here, so just be aware of that. But when you get to Bonetail and defeat Bonetail, you'll get 999 coins, which is crazy. So when going through the pit, you'll get like over 2,000 coins, probably, depending on, maybe if you beat the game you'll get a little less than that, but when I played through it, when I finished chapter 5 and went through the pit, I got over 2,000 coins, which is kind of crazy. But another thing that I've noticed, kind of based on the amount of coins that you'll get, is that the coin economy in the game is kind of different. Like, you can actually carry up to 9,999 coins this time, rather than just 999. And like the pit, the game gives you significantly more coins than the original, too. Like, bosses give you 100 coins, I think regardless of your level. And you also don't drop coins when fleeing. So that's pretty interesting, so you'll definitely accumulate a lot of coins in this remake. But the change that they made to balance this out is pretty interesting. Badges actually cost more this time, like significantly more than they did in the original. Like, you'll find some that are pretty expensive. Like, even the cosmetic badges are much more expensive than they were in the original. And also, like, Charlieton, the items that he sells, are also more expensive than they were in the original. The items are actually the same price, but a lot of, like, other things, like badges and, like, various, like, objects and things are much more expensive now, which is pretty interesting. I feel like there's, like, a few ways with how they handled this. Like, maybe they're putting more priority on the badges, like, being, like, kind of... Or I guess, like, the badges being, like, very, like, significant, so you'd have to, like, save up your coins for them, rather than, like, the items. And I guess it's also kind of, like, a safety net for newer players as well. Like, this is really, like, kind of, like, a somewhat optional thing, I guess, because it's, like, you could choose to, like, skip enemies and things and, like, not get as many coins if you're also going for, like, a challenge run as well, if you're getting, like, as low HP in as possible, and also FP and BP and everything, but I don't know. And I feel like it's also changed to compensate for paying to heal, since like, a lot of people didn't like the fact that you had to pay whenever you had the heal in the original, whether you're in an inn or using a recovery block. So I wonder if they changed it, like, because of that, the kind of, like, on just to compensate for that. But yeah, it's pretty interesting, but it does feel fairly balanced, so I don't think it's an issue at all. It's really just, like, something that's just a little different than the original. And another thing is that first attack now costs 0 BP, which is likely because hitting an enemy that's a lower level than you was an established feature in the modern Paper Mario games, and the Thousand Year Door remake is definitely taking after a lot of the quality of life features that were in the modern Paper Mario games, so it kind of makes a lot of sense. And Professor Frankly even sends you an email about it, so I think that's pretty cool. And yeah, I'm not sure if the price has changed or not. I think it's 100 coins in the remake. I forgot how much it was in the original. I assume it might be a bit more expensive due to the fact that the badges are more expensive now, but I might be wrong. That's another thing you might have to verify with me in the comments, but I know it's 0 BP rather than 1 BP, so that's pretty interesting. And another thing is that stage hazards are significantly improved, and now there's a lot of them that seem to affect specific sides rather than attacking one side randomly. Like, they've handled it much better. Like, if you're doing better in a battle, it will kind of, like, the stage hazards will harm the enemy rather than you. So I have encountered a lot of situations where, like, stage hazards, like, hit the bosses. Like, Macho Grubba actually froze for me, which was kind of funny. In, like, a bucket hit Hooktail, which actually took her out at the end. So I think it's pretty interesting how stage hazards work. And one thing that I like is that they actually improved fog now. Like, fog will now spawn on one side. Like, I think when it favors you, it will spawn on your side so the enemy can miss. So I really like how they changed it so where it kind of, like, can affect either your side or the enemy's side. I think that's pretty cool. And I think, like, there's even more props that can fall down on one side rather than, like, both sides. I think there were, like, some one-sided props in the original, but, like, it seems like there's a lot more in the remake. So I really like how the stage hazards were like improved and everything. I have never come across an instance where I've been like completely like annoyed by one of the stage hazards. They mostly feel like very fair. So I like how they work in the remake. And another thing is how they handle the on-screen keyboard, which is kind of weird. Because I was fully expecting them to use the Switch UI keyboard for like every instance of it, but they actually only use it once, and that's when you're naming the Yoshi when it shows the Switch UI keyboard. Like, it's just like, it's kind of weird. Why only use it for that instance, but not the others? Or why not use the other instance, but use the Switch UI keyboard for that? Maybe it's the way it's programmed, since the Yoshi name might be, like, kind of important to, like, the actual files of the game. So maybe you're kind of directly interacting with the game rather than kind of doing, like, a little in-game thing. But when you're guessing Desmond's name or putting the code in X-Dot Fortress, it actually has its own kind of unique menu like the original. It actually looks more like a pop-up rather than like a screen, like a separate screen that kind of like rolls over the gameplay. But it looks pretty cool and kind of has the same charm as like the menus in the original. So I think it's pretty cool that they do that. I think it would have been hilarious, like if you were guessing Desmond's name and it removed the lowercase p from the Switch keyboard. That would have been really funny. But I guess that would have been kind of hard to implement, since like you switch between like uppercase and lowercase, like with like the cap lock and shift button on there. So I guess that would have been a little hard to implement, but it's pretty interesting. And another thing that they did is kind of make the translation more accurate to the original by connecting things to Paper Mario 64. Like the Super Fun Quirk Quiz is now called the Trivia Quiz-Off, which is a continuation of the quiz that the Hammer Bro held during the Peach intermission in Paper Mario 64. And now, the Quiz Swamp mentions Koopa Koot now from Koopa Village, rather than Couscous, who was like the one mentioned like as one of the wrong answers instead of Croup in the original game. And then they also added things in various like places, like Toad Town and Crystal Palace is now like properly translated and everything, so it now feels like much more closely connected and accurate to Paper Mario 64. And then speaking of the translation, there's also like a bunch of little other changes that make it like either like a little different than the original or like more accurate to like the Mario franchise in general. Like all the shroom items, like life shrooms and different things like that, or an ultra shroom, are now called mushrooms. I mean, they are mushrooms, of course, but like I think like things like life shroom, just kind of making it like a short version of mushroom, made more sense when you're saying it, since like life mushroom just doesn't sound as interesting. But I guess like it's just making it more consistent now, but I can understand that. And Squeaks now have their more accurate name, Little Mousers, which is what they're actually called. The Squeak name was a mistranslation in the original game, so I'm glad they're now called Little Mousers, what they actually are, which were originally from Yoshi's Island, also appeared in like Paper Mario 64, well, yeah, Paper Mario 64, and then more recently they appeared in Yoshi's Crafted World, so it makes sense that they would change them back to their accurate name and everything. And one last thing is that they've added a lot of fast travel pipes to cut down on backtracking. I know this is like more of a well-known fact, since like a lot of people and reviewers and like preview footage has shown like the upgraded sewer pipes, where it kind of shows like the Origami King like fast travel system. And then we've also seen things like the pipe to Twilight Town in the Spring on Heel Hall Key. But they actually added a couple other things as well. Like one of the notable things that I've seen is a pipe in Hooktail Castle, since when you're getting Last Stand P, when you have to go down to that one platform, In the original, you had to go all the way back up and backtrack that way. But now, you just use the pipe to kind of like get back up, which I really appreciate. But yeah, those are some of the somewhat obscure changes that I've noticed in the Thousand Year Door remake. Let me know some of the changes that you have noticed in the remake down in the comments. So anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Twitter if you want to. Goodbye.